Hi, I'd like to show you how to use negative shapes or negative spaces to build up the realism of trees in the backgrounds in your acrylic painting. I'm working on this painting of the lion and the soldier, and in a previous video I did a semi-opaque smoothing layer over the background, and it kind of flattened out a little bit of what's going on with the detail and the nuances, but now it's time to introduce highlights into the trees. And instead of painting leaves or needles over, the sky, we're kind of going in reverse, and we're putting in little white highlight negative spaces to imply that we've got the clusters of leaves or needles in this case clumped together in certain spaces, and light is filtering through. And that's based on what we see, on the reference photo. You can see some of the light filtering through the trees here. So I want to show you how to do this. And looking at my palette, I've got a mixture of titanium white, a little bit of ultramarine blue, and then I bring in just a bit of organic orange. It's a color you wouldn't expect, but it's not going to work in every scenario. You have to base what you do in your painting, but for me it works because I've got the cool kind of tones here of the sky and the atmospheric smoky background, plus the warmth of the flames. So together I need to introduce both the cool tones and the warmer tones. But the trick is to, or I should say the technique is to use some titanium white, go lighter, mix some matte medium to make it fluid, and then we're going to start putting in these little negative spaces. And you don't want them to be too bright. They have to just kind of start off a little bit darker. So in fact, I'm going to go with a little more ultramarine blue, and then add some organic orange into that again, and some matte medium, which dilutes it and makes it a little weaker, not quite as strong of an application. But what we're going to do is just start introducing that into a couple of areas, kind of creating a bokeh effect with these little round shapes. But you don't want to overdo it. You've got to kind of balance it out. As I look at the color, it's maybe a little warmer than I want to go. So I'm going to add just a little bit of phthalo blue to the end of it and just cool it down a bit. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, that's pretty good. We want to make it match the color of the background as closely as we can. So I'm looking at my reference photo, really trying to see what's happening there. Just want to show that to you really quick. So again, we have the reference photo, and you can see some of these little spaces, little negative spaces, and you try to make it organic. Try not to make it too patterned, because the temptation will be to do everything boom, 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 all the same size, all the same distance from each other. We always try to order everything in our world. As human beings, we have to fight that tendency and make it organic. Have some shapes bigger, some smaller, some farther away, some closer. And that's where you really get that sense of realism. So we're going to put these little highlights in, and I'm going to, again, use the reference photo as a guide. And I'll use my finger to kind of wipe things off, and then I have a rag that I wipe my hand onto. And since acrylic is fairly non-toxic, that works well. In fact, as long as you're washing your hands before you eat and you're not using cadmium pigments, you should be fine. I've been using my fingers for years to kind of dab the glazes, and it's just part of the technique. But anyway, we're going to bring up a few more of these shapes. That just adds quite a bit when you put that in. It's little negative spaces. Now we can go back over here and kind of reintroduce some highlights. You can do layers on top of layers, so you can start with a slightly darker color and then go on top of that with a lighter color, but then make the pattern a bit smaller. And what that does is it creates the effect of like glowing, almost, of the light kind of glowing through these breaks in the tree limbs and in the other areas as well. All right, so we'll add a little bit in here. Have a break in there. That's good. And see how that works? It just really creates a nice effect of the light filtering through the wood. So this is especially useful if you're painting, you know, a wood scene. Probably seen some artists do this. Thomas Kincaid kind of did this effect. Now he overdid it intentionally. That was part of his style. They called him the painter of light, and he would, you know, really try to accentuate, you know, the light filtering and dappling through leaves and reflecting on the water, and then light coming from cottages. And you've probably seen some of his paintings. But again, we're just going to really try to get this glow here portrayed. Put a few dabs. So I'm just kind of moving around and trying to break up the edges of some of these branches with these areas. And this is a really strong area here. So I'm just going to take this glaze and kind of get a larger application right here. So we have a large area, then we have a few breakaway smaller areas, and that can really push that effect. But keep in mind, you know, your patterns that you're creating has to conform to reality. You have to understand that there are actual limbs here, there are actual needles, you know, coming off of the branches. So what you do has to make some sort of logical sense. And for that reason, it's good to follow your reference photo as much as possible. Okay, so now I can move over a little bit more, you know, to the right-hand side, and I can add some little areas here. So we've got maybe a little area here where there's a breakaway in the branch structure, and I intentionally put that you know, not right in the center, because you're going to be tempted to put that between the two branches, but don't do it. Put a little bit right of center, and that's going to get you more of that golden proportion within this area. It's going to look more natural. Now we have another breakaway as well, and I'm going to put that not right in the center again. I'm going to have it slightly off center. So we'll put it right there, and then we'll have another little breakaway up here. I'm going to dab it a little bit, and see when you dab it, then it's lighter. You can get a sense of nuance. Dab the edge. And sometimes you do have to shift colors. So I'm going to go a little darker. I'm going to add just a bit of ultramarine blue to this application, to this glaze. Just tone it down and add a tiny bit of phthalo blue, matte medium as well. Tone it down. Take a little bit of that other color that has more pink in it, mix it in. Okay, let's try that and see what we get. We're going to add that right in here. It's still too bright. Still too bright. Let's go darker. More ultramarine blue. Might even need just a little bit of raw umber dark. Tone it down more. Let's take up just a bit of alizarin crimson. Matte medium again. Okay. All right, let's try this and see what we get. That's better. So now we've got a color that's just a little more subdued. Well, arguably it could go lighter, so now we're going to have to blend into the lighter part of our mix and add just a little more phthalo blue to it. Okay, let's try this. So sometimes you have to do a lot of dabbing to get, or a lot of mixing, a lot of trial and error to get the right color. And let's have this little breakaway area not right below that. That's kind of a not the best composition to do it that way. So see, I had to fight my own tendency to make everything symmetrical. I'm not the only one that struggles, or I should say you're not the only one that struggles with this. I do too. But we're going to just get a little breakaway area there and see what that adds. You know, just putting in these little breakaway negative spaces, these highlights can make a huge difference. Then we can pop in something right here as well, something right there. That's good. Maybe pop in just a little something here with this somewhat lighter color. I don't want everything to all be on the same line. Get a little something right here and then something right there. There we go. That's good. So you can see again how that's all working out. Well, I'm going to stop off here. I just wanted to show you that technique and how that can really enhance your backgrounds. If you found this beneficial, found it interesting, give this video a thumbs up. That's helped it to be seen by more people on YouTube. Subscribe to this channel, and then you'll get the next tutorial and video right away. And check out my online school, realisticacrylic.com. I have several tips, tutorials, videos, free classes, PDF downloadable guides. Love to give to you to help you in your portrait painting or even your landscape painting if you're introducing landscape elements like this, and certainly illustration as well, which I do a lot of. So anyway, I hope this helps. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.